our final series of the night in our opening day of Stage 2 of SSL Challenge. I am Still Rapid, that's Still Valdez, and we are still about to get into our final series of the night. It's going to be an amazing one, Rogue versus soO.
The rematch is coming towards you guys. It's going to be a best of 5 this time, not a best of 3. And it's interesting because it's ZVZ. They kind of showed their styles already, but you have to look at the mindsets as well. Rogue was already able to take him out, go up in first place, whereas soO did lose to him. Not only him, but also to Dark in the last series, and now he's out of GSL. Where is his mindset? That was just yesterday. Does he have the mental fortitude to come back today and actually take a best of 5 against a Zerg that he already lost to yesterday?
I think the big takeaway from the previous GSL group is that soO, Rogue, and Dark are probably the 3 best Zerg players in the world right now. They just showed just such incredible understanding of the ebb and flow and the way that those matches go. Even the final match especially, Dark has been pulling out this lurker style in ZVZ that we really haven't seen all that much, and soO was able to just really kind of match him blow for blow, toe to toe. It was just such an amazing series. But in his game versus Rogue, that was really interesting because Rogue is this kind of brain Zerg. He comes up with these strategies to really punish players that don't, kind of cross their T's and dot their I's and lowercase J's. And he tried this like random sneak a gold-based strategy on Odyssey, and it just totally worked out because soO just barely didn't scout it. It was kind of a heartbreaking moment there, but it was still a 2-1, so both of these guys definitely very capable of taking games off each other, which should just show you how evenly matched they really are.
So, who do you predict for this one, Rapid?
I mean, I just got done saying how hard it was going to be, so this is truly very difficult, Valdez. Thanks for putting me on the ball.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to ask you.
I want to say that Rogue is sort of the new hotness, right? He's not new per se, but he's really up and coming. He is just, I can't say enough about how strong this guy looks in online tournaments. But soO, I feel, has the force of inevitability. Whoa. That's your $10 word for the day. Yeah, inevitability behind him. And even though he did come out of Group A in 3rd place, which might look a little bit, far down for a player of his... suspicious for a player of his caliber. Don't get it twisted. This guy is still one of the best players in the world, one of the best Zergs here. And to answer your question, Valdez, I would probably give soO the win just because this is a best of 5, so it's not who can win just a couple games early on, but it's a much more long-term kind of thought process.
Well, I'll give you my prediction. soO already looks really angry, and you don't want to mess with soO when he's angry. We've seen angry soO come out and actually stomp nerds. So I feel like tonight, my prediction is he'll lose game 1 and then he'll 3-1 Rogue. That's what I think is going to happen.
So we're going to get VSL produced a segment that called this guy Dirty Sexy soO. Well, he's going to be going up against the sexy boy himself, Rogue, who also came out of his group in 3rd place. Somewhat suspicious as well. Definitely a player capable of taking first in just about every tournament, including tournaments like I am.
Yeah, definitely. You were calling him the new hotness. It's like the rekindled flame of your relationship with a player. It's like, okay, he was once very hot, and then all of a sudden it's like, I still like him as a player, but he's not quite what he used to be, right? He's definitely changed a lot. You can't really, bond with him as well, call it what it is. And then he comes back and does stuff to you that you can't even imagine and makes you fall in love again. And that's what happened over in Shanghai. That's what happened in GSL. He is definitely on fire.
He's killing it. Online tournaments, offline tournaments. Rogue just seems really unstoppable. But if there's one man that can do it, it is Oh-Young soO. That guy is just, you can see him in the picture right there. He looks angry. He looks angry in real life.
He is cross, as my grandma would say. He is very cross right now.
Quite cross. What else did your grandma say? What would her predictions for SSL be?
She would probably, if you cursed, wipe out your mouth with soap.
Was she a soap grandma? Did you ever have your mouth washed out with
Occasionally.
soap?
Not me. I was.
You're a good boy?
I was much like Rogue, the clean one, not the dirty soO one. That was definitely one of my brothers.
Oh, man. Dude, soO has got your shorts fashion going on,
See,
Valdez.
this is another player I have something in common with.
I'm telling you, man, sometimes you just got to show a little, little leg out there.
Are those shorts, or are those just obnoxiously ripped jeans?
Oh, yeah, that could just be a really big rip in his jeans. I think I'm going to call the shorts one on this. Does that give him
shorts
an
on one
advantage
leg?
In this series, we will find out as we get into game number 1. Fly, better fly. On to our map. In the red, in the bottom right-hand corner, this is... I'm pretty sure those are shorts.
I think those are shorts, yeah.
That's definitely shorts.
He's crossing his legs. He's covering the other side.
That's soO. This is his blue Zerg opponent. Playing for the Jin Air Green Wings, it is Log.
Log.
Yeah, Log.
The sexy Log is coming back to you guys.
Sexy Log. All right. You call it whatever you want, Valdez. I don't control your destiny.
Well,
what a way to start. All right, so here we go. Early expands for both players. I feel like unless you're going for like the most aggressivest of builds, this is the way that both of these guys have opened more consistently. In his series versus Dark yesterday, soO did go for a very aggressive early pool rush timing in game 2, I think it was, and it actually didn't wind up working out too well. So behind this, we're going to see, hatch, gassed, then pool. So going to be pretty economical. His opening is soO. I want to say it's exactly the same timing. Yeah, same builds on both sides.
I was just thinking I heard actually from one of my friends that Jin Air is actually doing some flight attendant interviews around this time of year.
So if you want to be a part of supporting the Jin Air that supports SSL.
Yeah. Come over to Korea, learn some Korean, and apply to be a flight attendant.
You know, in some ways, Valdez, we are Jin Air flight attendants as we guide the Jin airplane through the SSL challenge.
Yeah, to the destination to eventually arrive at the final day of Stage 2. Challenge doesn't necessarily have a finals or anything like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, our tournament is kind of just a long flight.
Yeah.
We get a couple of stopovers.
We do eventually land, though. Do survive in the end. And
okay, I feel like we should take this game, or this series rather, pretty seriously, because both of these guys are definitely going to be, after their series yesterday. This was really the first heartbreaking moment for soO, where a player of his caliber, after winning his first match, coming in up against Rogue, you really just expected soO to advance on to infinity and beyond, kind of invincible until the final rounds of tournaments. But after yesterday, Rogue taking him out, and of course his untimely demise later on to the hands of Dark, soO, you really have to be looking at him for revenge. Third base is taken by both Zerg players, but notably soO's forward third base is the one that he opts for.
Yeah, pretty interesting location there. It's like a very similar distance in terms of the, comparing it to the other third base, but it definitely does make your creep get closer to the enemy, so perhaps we'll see him go for some kind of attack on 3 bases eventually. You can spread that creep out a little bit faster from that location. And we do have a lot of lings coming out of both players so far, but specifically out of Rogue. He is really pumping them here.
Certainly more versus less, but the Baneling is the great equalizer. Be careful about that one. This is like the heart-stopping moments of ZZZ, the Zergling Baneling control. Oh my god. All right, hang on to your seats. This is going to be a bumpy ride. We're going to hit some Zergling Baneling turbulence as we pilot our flight here, Valdez.
We got the Lings getting to work on the hatchery once again.
Oh, that Baneling's actually dropping pretty low. Going to detonate on one. One more attack, and there it is. The Assassin Zergling from Rogue takes it out.
Yeah, good trade in the end for both of these players.
I guess if you have to have Assassin Zerglings, Rogue is the player that would be appropriate enough to have that.
Makes sense.
Yep, so behind this, soO has thrown down his Ro.1. You can see that in the production tab, but he's also getting damage done on the other side of the map. Takes that Baneling hit, takes out a Queen. Great little bits of value, and oh wow, does run straight into that Baneling. But back at home, things are really looking good.
soO is looking angry. You know, he's going for assassinations, if you will, on the Queen. He's going for little micro plays to get slightly ahead. He keeps his own Queen alive back at home with his Banelings in position.
All right, trying to get this big connect. It could totally end everything for this pressure. Instead, just too many Zerglings left over after everything. And Rogue does come across the map with a lot of value. Banelings, though, will usher the drones back to their mineral patch safely, but this does not signal the end of everything. Okay, well, that does. Wow, great connection at the end.
Caster Curse was real.
Yeah, I called it right at the perfect time, Valdez.
Yeah.
Story of my life today.
So at the end of it all, very similar in terms of units, as our observer is so kindly showing us.
Great observer, all right.
Yeah, 55 to 54 drones. It looks like the Roach tech was invested into by both of the players, if I'm not mistaken. I just don't think Rogue made any Roaches. Although I don't see any Ro.1 here. Perhaps he... Well, okay, he does have the speed on the way, so he does have it. There it is.
Both players just like really powering drones. Wow, 12 on the way there for soO at one time. Really just sort of a feeling that there's not a whole lot of aggression coming their way. Hydra Den as well coming out here for soO. So a lot of times there are two different ways to play this, right? You survive the early game with Zergling, Baneling, and then Roaches are kind of the great equalizer. They're pretty good units, you can build tons of them, and you oftentimes do see these huge Roach battles. But one way to go is Infestors, and we used to see that style where you'd see lots of Infestors out. You don't really see that anymore. A lot of times you get Roaches and then +1 range upgrade, and then your decision is, hey, do I go into Mutalisk to try to win the air beats ground war, or do you tech into Hydras and go for +2 range upgrade? It's a really cool sort of triangle of builds that we got to see all the different varieties of yesterday in the GSL Code S.
Yeah, and it seems like we are going to have just straight up Roaches versus the Lurkers coming out here for soO, who goes directly into that Lurker Den as fast as he humanly can. And Rogue pumping a bunch of these Overlords in preparation, it looks like, to go for an attack. He does have a bunch of Ravagers morphing at the same time. I think about 13 of them, and definitely looking for some aggression on the map here after morphing all of those. He is moving across the map. soO is going to scout this. I don't think he can get Lurkers in time, though. The Den is about to finish. Yeah,
this is going to be a very important timing for Rogue to hit right now. And, I mean, less versus more is never a great spot to be in. Gross Biles do come down. And, theoretically, Valdez, these Ravagers should be the perfect unit to have against a player who's going Lurkers.
You got a counterattack at the third that the Observer is just catching now. And that actually forced Rogue to turn his entire army around. I think if he attacked right at that moment, he could have gotten some serious damage done with a nice concave. But now there are Lurkers out, and he should be in a pretty good spot with those Lurkers up here. He does only have 3, which are not split, actually, so they could be corrosive biled by Rogue on the attack.
soO is kind of having his cake and eating it too. He's trying to go for both Ravagers and Lurkers at the same time, and just really not having too many of either one of them. I think he only did get those first 3 Lurkers, and oh my god, here we go! They are stopped, and finally, just a second too late, do reveal the Lurkers in position. With no detection, Rogue is really going to have to either play this very carefully. Now finally there's an Overseer coming back behind. His Lurkers trying to move forward and burrow, and this is going to keep pushing Rogue back for now.
Yeah, it was a nice try by soO to kind of trap Rogue in there, but at the end of the day, it was late, and it is only 3 Lurkers, so was not effective in the end. And Rogue does know about these Lurkers now. We don't see any more coming out here on the map, just sticking with the 3 that he made originally.
Well, really great control, Valdez. You can see soO realizing, hey, Lurkers are really the advantage he has in this fight, trying to play to that, keeping in this, I guess this is kind of the Zerg waltz. forward, backwards, forward, but finally running in, taking a few corrosive vials there, and now moving forward. I mean, concave does beat convex, but not when there's just so much more. soO busting out and all over Rogue's army.
Yeah, he was so confident that he actually ate a bunch of the corrosive vials in the fight. He's like, no, I got this. I got enough units. I have enough Hydras in the back for that DPS, and it definitely worked out for him. He was able to push Rogue back, and he even had more Lurkers morphing in the meanwhile. So now looking to gain some of his own map pressure. I see 5 Overseers in this army. Not sure about that. Got to get them spread out.
Both players way up there in the supply. Rogue actually maxed out against this, so pushing forward, soO is going to have to keep up with his army count and make sure that he doesn't find or overextend too much into a player who's just going to come storming right back at him.
Yeah, you can see soO trying to force fights while he has this Lurker advantage, but Lurker Den about to finish for Rogue. Does have that coming up here, and now in kind of an awkward spot.
Ooh, yeah, gotta watch out for those Lurkers. That area of effect is very painful to walk into with such massive clouds of units, and wow, there's actually not a lot of damage being done to these Lurkers. Finally, a couple of clumps of roaches get on top of them. Is it going to be enough to take them out? A couple do fall, but they're still in the back dealing damage. soO crushing through Rogue's army.
Rogue trying a little bit too hard to split up his units and be cute there against the Lurkers. Is not successful in the end, and now we have soO with the big advantage pushing in now onto this third base. If he can get some economic damage done, that would be a huge blow.
Yeah, you might look at the army supply and say, hey, they're pretty even, but soO is actually segmenting off this 4th base down to the south, and of course all the production that does come from it. Lurkers now sieged in position. The Ravagers not actually using their corrosive vials to try to hit these Lurkers in the back. There's just not enough, and soO, if these Lurkers keep on firing, will win yet another fight.
Oh, that Unburrow too to save it. Adding insult to injury, soO. He is going to take game 1. GG. My prediction is wrong for game 1, but he does look angry and he does look dominant.
I tell you, man, the play on both sides just looking so good. And even though soO only committed to those first 3 Lurkers, in the end, that's what comes back and really helps win in the game. Rogue just either didn't respect them, or you could see him trying to split around and maybe send hit squads of roaches to the back to try to kill him off, but just unsuccessful. And really great unburrow micro. Just
It's like, a fine wine with some fine cheese. You're like, that's the taste I was looking for. Not cheesy at all, of course, in terms of the StarCraft terms. I feel like if there's anything to criticize in Rogue's play, maybe he was just fighting a little bit too straight up. He was like running straight into the Lurkers, maybe trying to split off a bit and harass a bit against those kind of more immobile, AoE damaging Lurkers.
Well, hey, Lurkers are really the unit we're seeing define a lot of ZVZs now. Whether it's Dark really using them to great effect yesterday in GSL, or soO kind of adapting that strategy and now adopting it here in today's best of 5. And he's 1 game up in this series, but if there's any player that can take him out, it's Rogue. He did it yesterday, looking to do it once again as he tries to come back in game number 2, our final best of 5 of the night here in GSL Challenge.
Fly better fly as the Jenner airplane takes off to bring us into game 2. Down to the bottom right, this is soO. He's crossed his legs the other way.
Dun, dun. What does it mean? His opponent in the blue on the upper right side of Frost is Rogue. All right, Valdez. Both players producing drones. It's a good sign if you don't want to see a very early rush, and it doesn't look like that's the case. I guess I would expect to see another hatch gas pool out of both players.
Seems to be the flavor of the month, especially on builds maps that are as big as Frost is. We're going to scout each other.
Yeah, great positioning. We're going to see the Overlord high 5. Here we go. They're going to bump into us. And right there.
The observer tried to hide that from the viewers, maybe thinking that was
we all know it happened.
PG-13.
Can't hide the truth. And yet it is hatch gas pool opening for both players. They scout each other and should know pretty much as much information as you can get at this phase. Now, of course, the next one will be all about that Ling Bling control, and I want to say that Rogue was really on top of that in game number 1. soO threw down the earlier Ro.1, but then didn't actually wind up using it all that much as soon as he finished it. And went for those lurkers a little bit later on to great effect.
Frost, especially in these positions, we saw this in a different matchup, TVZ, between Bunny and Impact, where Impact was going for an aggressive play down the middle of the map, but Bunny was being a little bit more secretive down the side of the map, the right side, and that ended up actually hurting Bunny in the end. So definitely lots of different paths that you can take on this map if you're looking to get aggressive or if you're looking to just harass with some roaches. It's definitely a map where things can get very out of hand for your opponent if you get some really nice burrowed roaches into the back, into the third base, stuff like that. So we'll see that if it does get there.
It's kind of interesting you mentioned that, Valdez, because in game 1 of the series they played in GSL yesterday, soO did go for this early burrow upgrade and tried to use that to get value out of his roaches, because even if you just burrow your roach for a second, it's going to regen a ton of HP, and it was a cute strategy, you know, and that wasn't really what won him the game. In the end, yeah, he was able to take it, but still not something that we're used to seeing. Now, what we are seeing here is a pretty fast lair. I don't know if we okay, no, it's not. All right, sorry, I thought we were actually way further in the game than we are, but okay, identical strats on both sides. Ugh.
Yeah,
faster Ro.1 though. I guess that's the difference.
Very, very similar.
soO.
Basically the same thing. And
I actually thought that was way faster. You ever cast these games, Valdez, where you feel like because there's so much aggression or so little aggression that you feel like you're either way later or earlier?
Yes. Yes, okay. Definitely. And, well, 3-minute, 44-second spires definitely make it seem like our time is a little bit off.
Yeah, all right. So I am finally correct at calling something early. That spire is a little bit ahead of schedule.
Definitely is. And does make the Ro.1 with it. Does finish that up. Just for safety, of course. If it's a weird world we would live in if you could just get to mutas for free, essentially. Is going to rely on soO getting some kind of scout, some kind of hint that this is going on, and he is running in this Overseer, or rather flying it in, flying into the main. The Changeling looking for that Spire is not going to see it there up on the high ground.
Really?
Will this Overseer see it? Yes, it will.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so finally the Scout comes in. Now, this can trigger a couple of different things. For soO, you can either say, all right, I know what you're doing, so I can get my Spores up and Hydras in position and defend against it and counter your strategy. Or mass-produce Roaches and run in for the kill.
Well, looks like the answer for now is just make as many Roaches as possible, because we don't actually see a Hydra Den. We don't even see any Spores just yet. I mean, he does know the timing of when these mutas can make it out onto the map, and funnily enough, he's going to be running straight into these mutas as they pop.
Oh, this is just not great. Now, it does take mutas quite a bit of time to kill roaches, and so there's still some damage that can be done, but these are definitely on a timer with 8 mutas in the air. soO is going to have to get damage done, and it doesn't look like all that much is being. It's not actually doing that much. 8 mutas, turns out, does actually kill a small number of roaches, and even though there's more behind it, we'll see if these queens make the difference for soO.
At the end of the day, he did snipe 3 queens for about 9 roaches. I don't think it's worth it. It might put a little bit of a hitch into the macro of Rogue for sure. As you guys can see, he is making those 3 queens at a time right now to try to catch up, but definitely not. He was looking for more damage with that kind of play. Didn't want to run into the mutas with that timing. Doesn't even really have control of his third base either. He's making only roaches, and he's going for that push that you were talking about with the queens and the roaches. He is going in. He is angry again.
Indeed he is. Now, it's going to take those queens a little bit of time to make it all the way across the map, and by the time they get there, I wonder if this is going to give Rogue enough time to get his defenses up and running. And oh, he's going to catch These roaches out in the middle of the map, running back to those queens.
Let's see how many queens he's got here. Looks like 5 in total. They don't have a crazy amount of transfuse, but it's going to be very important to get that transfuse, especially when they do end up fighting the mutas.
Now, Rogue being a little bit careless there with his roach control is losing a couple, and that's going to allow SoO a big opportunity to run right in. The muta's actually not in position. They run right over the queens, finally able to get to the roaches and push everything back, but not before a lot of damage is done.
Yeah, you can see the army supply is way up for SoO, and a lot of that army supply for Rogue is in the mutas. He's going to take this trade against the roaches. The queens finally make it to help out in this fight.
They're going to have transfuses. They have that long-range anti-air attack, and the mutas are starting to fall. A couple being picked off there, but still, it is more on the ground for SoO, and it just does not die. The transfuse is coming through, and SoO breaks through as well.
Looks like he's done it. He wants revenge so badly after GSL. That's a big tournament to get kicked out of, and already taking a very strong game number 2 to win this series, or rather get ahead in this series. My apologies, to go ahead 2-0.
And these single mutas dying just little by little, even though there was kind of a remax and another big burst of mutas coming out. Maybe that's enough to clear this out, but not until the queens get there, and this should be enough. He's going to try to come in here and focus fire down these queens, but so much energy has been saved up. The queens continually being transfused, but is there enough in the air for Rogue to hold on?
Well, he is going to run away these drones, and it's not enough in the end. GG, SoO holding on with the queens for long enough. Rogue could not escape with his drones, and that is going to be the end of game 2. So already taking that 2-0 lead is SoO. He's looking really good today, man.
Yeah, not only, well, I guess they're both looking good today, but
well,
to be
depends
fair,
on what you're talking about exactly.
That's true. Well, in-game, I felt like that game was kind of the classic ZVZ, where you see one player say, look, I'm going to skip a little bit of the tech, skimp on the roaches early and go for fast mutas, but great queen decision-making there by Rogue, or by SoO rather, to say, look, you might have the air control right now, but these queens, even though they're going to take a long time to get to your base, by the time they get there, they'll have more than enough transfuses to just really keep my army alive and push those mutas away.
And I can see him in the booth, SoO, and he doesn't look happy at all.
No.
He's just sitting there. He's like rubbing his eyes. He's like a little bit down, slumped over.
Yeah.
You can tell he's not really over the loss, and I wasn't joking when this guy, he actually does improve in his play when he gets angry. We've seen it time and time again, especially in the Nexon Arena here in Gangnam. So this is what I was expecting. I thought maybe he would drop one game and then he would really go Super Saiyan, but he showed up to play tonight. He
certainly did. And for Rogue, you can see him kind of trying to think through everything. And it was an interesting strategy trying to go for all these mutas and get the damage done that you need. But I don't know, that's just the tenuous moment that you have when you're like, uh-oh, I just don't have enough here. I hope I don't get punished. And SoO just kind of the mastermind at knowing exactly how to hammer his advantage home and take the win in game number 2.
Yeah, I'm curious as to what the map is going to be for game number 3. I don't remember. We get it that one time, and then it doesn't show in the beginning, so it's like maybe a bit of an... okay, it's Odyssey. We did just get the update from
No,
our
I
producer.
remembered it just in time, Valdez.
Yeah, we both remembered it at the exact same time.
That's what happened.
We did
promise.
it rapid.
Coming through in the clutch. All right, well, we're seeing exactly the same situation as last series with the numbers, the scorer, but anything can definitely change around. I would say that when you look at the power level of both of these players, and even just recent results, Rogue capable of reverse sweeping more than almost any other player in this tournament. So anything can happen as we get into possibly our final game. It's set number 3, game number 3, match 3, coming up. Gonna fly, better fly, Jin Air into our third game. This is our Zerg player in the red, spawning the upper left-hand corner. It is SoO.
And his opponent in the bottom right. This is Rogue. Needs to win 3 in a row to uphold the Jin Air name tonight. And his own name. It's not the end of the world if you do lose this one series, as you do get to play against I think it's all of the other 5 players
here
in the second stage.
It's a nice round robin there. Let's keep an eye on the builds. Looks like slightly slower hatch there for Rogue, but not that big a difference. And I think we're just going to see consistently hatch gas pool openings every game in this series. I was really hoping we were going to get like not something crazy like a proxy hatch, but at least one player going for a super fast early pool. I remember the first SSL finals. I got a chance to see maybe beginning of or end of last year.
Dark versus Solar?
Yeah, Dark versus Solar was one of the sickest CVZs at that time. That was when Dark was really on top of the world, and Solar was this young upstart challenger, who's really trying to make a name for himself. And you know, he definitely did. But final game of that set, it was really just, hey, do you expect my aggression? And the answer for Dark was no. Solar kind of pulled it out in the clutch, and I really feel like that strategy is so potent when it comes to coming back in ZVZs, almost more so than any other matchup, just because of how aggressive and explosive Zerg can be early on.
Yeah, definitely can get pretty crazy, and soO, he's definitely one of these players in pretty much any matchup that can get very aggressive at times, but can also get very aggressive in terms of his economic play and just say, okay, I'm not going to attack you. Here come 60 drones. Come at me and see if you can actually kill me. But it seems like he really just wants to play standard straight-up games. Maybe something in his series against Rogue, he's like, oh, you know, I feel kind of bad because I feel like I can beat this guy in a straight-up series, but I wasn't playing to my top potential.
Absolutely.
And so today he's like, okay, let's try it again. I'm a bit more rested. It's one matchup against one player. I can practice my ZVZ in the morning and get into that.
He's certainly been practicing that a lot. Now, it's interesting you say, hey, you know, do you play straight up or do you try to go for a unique strategy? Because yesterday when these two guys faced off in the decider match in GSL, or in the promotion match, Rogue on Odyssey went for this really cool strategy where you take a gold base, but it's the gold base on your opponent's side of the map, and it's
spicy.
No, I actually think it was on his side of the map. Never mind. I'm trying to get their positions mixed up here. I think it was Classic that went for the gold on his opponent's side of the map. Weird day of GSL, but for reference, Rogue soO rather just barely didn't scout it. And, you know, maybe it's just a one-time strategy, but it was really cool to see Rogue try that. This time, though, very different mindset, saying, look, I know I need to win. I'm just going to play as straight up as possible.
Well, Rogue is getting pretty aggressive here. Lots of lings pushing across as soO does have that lair about to finish. He thought this was going to be just a normal game, but doesn't look like that way. Rogue wants to abuse this. A very wide choke here. Here come the Banelings running straight on in.
Oh, man, they will break through, but only one hits, and that's not going to be enough. The last final Baneling takes out 4 workers, but is that enough damage? There's a lot being committed here for Rogue.
At the end of the day, I don't think that was the damage that he really needed. He wants to hit the lings. He wants to kill these queens. He is going to get this around, but the Baneling hit is good. Baneling's pushing on through, but they can't find any real sufficient damage. And soO, he is going to hold on in this push. We got nothing but more lings coming out of Rogue, too.
Right, and I believe, actually, soO is going to be able to pick off a couple of those Banelings slightly to the south off camera. soO holds on, and behind this, there's the Spire.
See if he can actually get that off the ground here. Nice Baneling hit to start. And Rogue immediately looking to regroup after losing a nice chunk of his lings. This Overlord is not getting in there. I mean, he sees that there's no queen, but doesn't see that there's no saturation. But does see the lings just pouring across the map.
Yeah, this is just, I mean, if these were Marines, we'd call it a parade push. But for Rogue, he is just going all in, trying to get in and bust through soO. But as soon as these mutas pop out, I mean, that is really going to be what tells the tale. And I don't know, Rogue is choosing this moment to go for it, and now pulling back.
That's a rough spot to be in for Blue Zerg. He went for an aggressive push, and it got pretty nicely held. At least he does get the scout with the lings of the Spire.
Glad our observer showed us that. So that is a big realization. Behind this, Rogue saying, look, I've put on all this pressure. all this aggression. I know what my opponent is going to try to do on the back of this, so let's just pull back, take an extra base, and see if that's the advantage he needs.
soO is slowly pumping out these mutas. Going to make 3 to start, and then 2 more to complete the quintet of mutas. If they played instruments, okay, then a 6th member joined the band. Here we go.
What instruments would mutas play? I guess it'd have to be like a, I don't know, they only have like that mouth at the bottom and the wings.
Yeah.
I don't really...
Is that a mouth?
Yeah, it's a mouth. It spits the glaive worms out.
Okay.
Which apparently are just inside in unlimited numbers. I don't know. They could play like a didgeridoo.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or a Vuvuzela? I forget how you say those.
Vuvuzela?
Vuvuzela, is that really how you say it?
Yeah, Vuvuzela.
I don't know.
I think.
It's one of the strangest words. That can be your word of the day, guys. Go look that one up. Those instruments are hilarious.
Yeah.
Especially if you bring them to sporting events. Or SSL. We still haven't had the SSL I don't know. You do.
Vuvuzela?
There you go. It's just that one still has not come out. Now, lots of queens here at the front for Rogue, but are there enough? There's a Spore Crawler backing that out, and then it'll get a couple of shots off. Banelings crash through, and Rogue holds on for now. Just needs to bring out that 3rd queen. It's starting to get focused. Is there a transfuse to keep it alive? No. Just barely goes down. The muta's committing, and they'll take out every single queen.
At the end of the day, I do think that is a pretty good trade. He takes out all those queens that were pulled from the bases. That's going to really hit the economy here of Rogue, the production in terms of the larva. He's really controlling this middle spot, too. Needs to be careful of those spores. And still no real answer, as there are only 2 more queens that were just remade. Rogue's not ready to attack these mutas just yet head on.
I'm glad that he's choosing his moment here, just whittling down the queen count. Look at that. Nice usage to take the Spore Crawler out. More lings now flooding through. 3 queens on the ground, but with no energy for transfuse. Every single queen will fall. There's nothing to hit these mutas. soO dealing critical damage.
What a beast, man. He gets killed by Rogue in GSL and then 3-0s him in SSL Challenge, saying, get out of here, buddy. This is my tournament, at least. Still doesn't look happy, but will be happy with the results perhaps tomorrow or next week.
Wow, you can really see maybe how much Rogue invested in his GSL group, saying, look, this is where I'm focusing all of my energy, and maybe just kind of ran out of steam there. soO does get revenge, but has to be a little bit bittersweet. Still a great way to start the 2nd stage of SSL Challenge.
Yeah, man, soO still looks really angry.
Yeah, he actually really does.
I mean, that's what happens, right? But in the end, he does take him out. We had 2 3-0s tonight and 1 3-2.
Yeah, really actually enjoyed our first series. Bunny versus Impact. A little weird, some very odd aggressive plays, but really close series. And of course, Beyond over Jaxi was a very solid victory, and still, could have been a much different scoreline, but in the end, soO does take the 3-0 versus Rogue.
Yeah, I was looking forward to more of a down and dirty best-of-5 going to Game 5 kind of series, but soO just bops that nerd. It was not close. He is going to be tied up in 1st place with Beyond, and guys, the indicator points always do matter, especially when there's no finals and you're just trying to get that 1st place spot. So soO is going to be extremely happy that he took the 3-0 against a rough opponent, a tough opponent in Rogue.
That is very true. Every win does matter. Your score is very important. Another thing, we actually did step up the money as well for each individual best of Series 1. It's $300 for the winner, $200 for the loser, so got to keep an eye on that cash money as it does come in. Of course, this week there is a 2nd day of SSL Challenge coming up on Saturday with Beyond versus Impact, soO versus Jaxi, and Rogue versus Bunny.
I think the first 2 should be pretty one-sided. I don't think I'm out of line in saying that. The last one could be interesting. Rogue has had trouble with inconsistency in the past. Yep. I do agree that today was just, coming off of that GSL day, perhaps taking a little break. Yeah. But how is he going to do against Bunny's heavy drop style in TBC? That's the question.
I guess we don't really know about that. Now, keep in mind that today's SSL Classic was on a different day at a different time. We'll be returning to our regularly scheduled programming this Saturday, so it's going to be at 10 p.m. KST on Saturday night. And then, of course, SSL Premier you also saw returning on Monday.
Yeah, so this was kind of a cool day to come in on Thursday. We actually had the audience come in. There were a ton of people here, as the SSL Challenge casters in Korea are actually quite popular, as we mentioned, from time to time.
Well, we also got a chance to see it from a slightly different viewpoint on our end as we move to the other side of the Jin Air studio. Yeah, this is actually where we were casting from last season. So a little bit of a throwback today, and I guess I'll be excited to see how things work out in this Saturday and day 2 of SSL Challenge Stage 2. Yeah. There's going to be a lot of really interesting combinations, but I just love casting best of 5s between these great players because it does set up for those comeback scenarios, and just like we saw in Series 1, it was really, really close.
Yeah. Also, Saturday is turning into like this big day for StarCraft in Korea because GSL is always on early, so it's very accessible for you guys who have to sleep a little bit earlier, and then for you guys who wake up earlier, you got SSL Challenge coming in right away following that at about 10 p.m. So got a couple good days of StarCraft, or good tournaments of StarCraft, I suppose. Well,
that's going to do it for us tonight, everyone. Thanks for watching our newly scheduled SSL Challenge. We'll see you right back here for more SSL Challenge on Saturday. Have a good night.